Hello, Scream Demons, and welcome to the Screams from the Basement podcast with Sam and Casey.
This is a horror podcast in which two horror fans discuss all things horror, including news, recent watches, horror collectibles, and more.
I am one of your co-hosts. I am Casey, the Killer Kelderman.
And I'm Sam, and
Let's get screaming.
screaming.
Sam the Damned Lens. Sam, how are you?
Great, man. How are you doing?
Doing good. We are celebrating our own little 4th of July themed episode today. Happy late 4th of July, I guess, by the time people listen to this episode. So happy 4th of July to those who celebrate. I hope you do so by drinking cheap beer, eating hot dogs, and watching shark movies like every great American should.
Yep. And if you do other things, I hope you lose fingers.
Yeah, by shark. Sam, what do we got on the docket for this episode?
We have a double feature of two of the greatest shark movies ever put to celluloid.
Two shark movies that have been put to celluloid.
We have the magnificent masterpiece by Spielberg himself, Jaws, on the docket. And we have Bruno Mattei's Jaws 5, aka Cruel Jaws, aka Italian ripoff of Jaws, featuring actual ripped off footage from Jaws and Jaws 2 and Jaws 3. It's pretty much a collage of a movie, and it's beautiful and gorgeous in its own way, and I'm really excited that we're finally talking about it on this show.
Yeah, scary, just like sharks, scary teeth and all. They're gorgeous creatures, and that's Cruel Jaws.
Yep.
But Sam, before we jump into that, because that is our main topic here for this episode, we got a jam-packed episode. I know we have a lot of doobie doing to talk about after we talk about our main double feature on this show. But first of all, we got to give a shout out to this month's sponsor. Yes, we have a sponsor here for the month of July, and this is quite the lineup that we got coming up here in July, and we're very happy to have Terror Cards sponsor this month's selection of podcasts coming at you from Screams from the Basement. So Terror Cards, it is a app that you can collect different cards from different movies, a ton of independent titles, including the hit indie film from, I think it was from 2020, Becky, that stars Kevin James and Joel McHale. You can collect them in card form as well. So that is Terror Cards. You can find them on Apple and Google Play. You can find them there. And right now, I just want to give a shout out to two of the like big things on the app, because I've been playing this app for a couple months now, and I have so much fun messing with this and collecting cards. One of the things they have right now is Attack of the Corn Zombies, which sounds like a blast. But they have signature cards. So you have the actors signing the cards.
Oh,
and
that's
so you can collect
rad.
different signatures on it. And then another one is the Kiss collection. So kind of like a signature, except there's a lipstick kiss on the card.
Hell yeah.
So you can download that app right now, Terror Cards. You can find us on there. Just search for our names. You can find us on there, and you can play head-to-head matchups on there with different people's collections. You basically face off with who wins in a battle between your collections. You can trade your cards on there as well. This game's an absolute blast. So again, download it. Terror Cards. They've been a great sponsor for us here this month in July. So again, Terror Cards. Download the game. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below if you download it and check it out.
Hell yeah. Come trade some digital cards with us.
Yes. They're a ton of fun. There's a lot of movies on there where I'm like, I've never heard of that, but just looking at this card, I'm like, I need to find this movie.
Yeah.
But awesome. Sam, let's jump into our double feature. We're kicking things off. We got a shark-filled double feature. We're going underwater. We're getting out of the basement. We're heading into the ocean on this one.
Ugh.
We're talking first, 1975's Jaws. From the one, the only Sir Steven Spielberg. I know he's not a sir, but he should be a sir. God damn it.
He should be.
He should be. I know he's not even British, but he should be a sir. So directed by, here's the thing about Jaws. We're going to get into it. We're going to talk about it. but everybody's seen this movie.
Yep.
Everybody loves this movie. The craziest thing though was when I clicked on this on Peacock, because for some reason I don't own Jaws on physical media, and it's a travesty.
That's insane.
It is insane. But when I clicked on it, it had a like 91% on Rotten Tomatoes on it. And I was like, who are the 9% of people that are like, nah, I'm not gonna recommend Jaws?
Yeah.
Insane people.
Did Spielberg kick their puppy or something? Like,
I don't know. Maybe they reviewed it around the time of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and they're like, I hate Spielberg. He ruined my childhood.
I have Jaws on physical media.
You
nice
do?
2 VHS
Actually,
set.
I might have that. Not that
Do
same
you?
one, but I might have Jaws on VHS now that I think of it. Yeah. But Jaws, let's jump into it. Before we jump, I mean, do we have to do like a plot synopsis for Jaws? Like everyone
No.
knows what Jaws is.
Chief Brody
Chief
tries
Brody
to close beaches.
Yeah, tries
Mayor
to close
won't let
beaches.
him.
Mayor won't let him in the town of Amity. He enlists
So he
the help
teams up with
of a hotshot young scientist, young 40-year-old scientist Hooper, and the help of like the local gruff sea I don't know, sea captain,
an annoying hipster and a grizzled drunk.
Quint, and the three set sail to the ocean to hunt down this great white shark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of the greatest movies ever made.
Yeah, we didn't have to explain the plot, but we did a terrible job at doing it. So I'm glad we got that out of the way.
Beaches are closed in the movie, but not for long. Beaches are in the movie.
Anyway, Sam, what's your history with Jaws?
So my history with Jaws is like, honestly, it's one of my first horror memories is in the video store seeing the cover of Jaws and the Jaws sequels and not realizing how bad the Jaws sequels could get at the time, but also just that image of the shark coming up out of the water from the bottom of the case was always just terrifying. And just that alone was enough to make me not want to take baths anymore, which was a contentious battle I fought nightly with my parents. And yeah, Jaws got under my skin. I've always had a fear of the ocean and water that I cannot see the bottom of. Just in general, like I do not like not being able to see the bottom of where I am swimming. And yeah, a big scary shark coming out of that was enough to like make me never want to get into any body of water again, not even really sit on the toilet. So yeah. Safe to say that this movie scared the crap out of me. I did not watch it until I was 16. Like that's how long I put off watching Jaws. It's one of the very few horror movies I think my parents would have showed me at an early age, and I would not watch it. So yeah, I watched it first when I was 16, and it scared the living shit out of me even at 16. And then I did not watch it for a very long time after that, and now it's just one of my favorite movies, and I put it on once every like 6 months. So that's my history with Jaws. What's your history with Jaws, Casey?
So I don't remember the first time I watched Jaws. I know I was in high school when I did. And that's just because my parents just didn't watch movies. And when I did, it was usually PG. I mean, I know this movie's PG.
Yeah.
Somehow, but
somehow
1975 PG. But like by 99 when I was 5 years old or whatever, I was only watching at the highest like PG-13 movies. And anyway, I always knew about Jaws. Like it just feels like one of those movies like you just know about. And you know what it's about, a shark that eats people on this island, and then they hunt down the shark. Like everybody knows that. So when I finally watched it in high school, it was around the time I was just like really getting into movies and like just trying to, okay, what have I missed that I didn't watch when I was younger that I need to catch up on? So it was like watching pretty much all the Spielberg stuff that I didn't watch as a kid. So like I watched this and Jurassic Park and the Indiana Jones series and the Rocky series and Back to the Future, like the big American pop culture movies of the 70s and 80s was when I was watching this. And then my brother
Right.
got really big into it. And lucky for him, he had a cool older brother, in my opinion, that showed him these movies when he was like 6 years old. So he grew up with those movies that I feel like every movie fan grows up with. And I know they're still a big place in his like movie watching life, including Jaws. But that leads me to my favorite time watching this movie. And it was in high school. And it was my brother and Dakota. And we were on the beach in our hometown. And so we have a campground there. And there's a tiny little beach with a tiny little swimming area. And they did a movie night one night. And it was like Dolphin Tale or something like that. Like,
Yeah.
is that, I
Yeah,
think,
that's a movie.
yeah,
That's
like that's
definitely
a
a
live
movie.
action movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we like showed up. We watched like the last half of that movie because it was dusk yet. Like it was still like the sun was out. It was setting, but it was getting darker. And then by like 10 o'clock, they were going to start Jaws. And so we sat there. We got our lunch here. So we're sitting like right against the edge of the water. And that movie ends. Literally everyone leaves. There's probably 50 people there. They just leave. So it's just me, my brother, and Dakota. And we're just sitting there against the water. And they put on Jaws for the next movie. And it's just us three there for 2 hours under the moonlight with the water behind us and Jaws on the big screen in front of us. And it was just the coolest
Oh,
experience I've ever had watching this movie. And yeah, I've watched this movie a dozen plus times since then. Like you said, it's a watch at least once a year. It's the first movie you and I saw together.
it is. I
Oh,
This podcast might not even exist without Jaws.
without Jaws. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we did. The first time we met was actually at a private Jaws screening during the pandemic.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, that
That
was the
was
first we so Blake, I think, was the one that rented out the West Mall Theater during the pandemic.
Yep.
And
We watched Jaws and then we
yeah,
watched Terminator 2 about 2 months later.
yep,
And we recorded a Killer Countdown episode right after that Terminator 2 screening.
yep.
We literally all just went over to your house afterwards.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's
That
right. But
summer
yeah,
was fun.
that was. Even though it was like the world was ending. But
Yeah.
yeah, we had fun. We watched Jaws on the big screen there. Yeah, it's just Jaws is just one of those movies that's always there, always will be there. It's one of the greatest movies of all time, in my opinion. It's since the first watch until this watch here, it's always been a 5-star movie. Like it's one of the rare movies I would just call perfect.
Yep.
Where there's other movies I would give 5 stars, but they're not perfect.
Yeah.
Jaws is the perfect movie.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like Jaws and Chopping Mall.
Two 5-star classics.
I mean, Chopping Mall it's perfect. That's what we should have paired Jaws with.
You just had to sneak your chopping mall reference in.
I did.
But
I cannot bring up Chopping Mall.
but
Anyways,
it's one of the,
Jaws.
that's one of those movies I would give 5 stars that is far from perfect. Where Jaws is 5 stars and it's perfect, you could give it 200 stars. So the movie directed by Steven Spielberg, written by Carl Gottlieb, based on the novel by Peter Benchley. The movie stars Roy Scheider as Chief Brody, Richard Dreyfuss as Hooper, the young hotshot scientist. We'll talk about that. That's the one thing I picked up on this time. And Robert Shaw as Quint, the gruff old fisherman who makes sure he has a bounty on this shark and gets
Yep.
paid for it. Yeah, the big thing I took away watching it this time is that they always refer to Hooper as like this young hotshot. Like, oh, you wouldn't get it, yeah, young man.
Yeah.
Like, dude, he's like 40, has gray in his beard.
Yeah, but he's supposed to be some kid, some like
Rich kid.
yeah.
Rich university. Because he works at the university is what he
Yep.
does. He's from a rich family.
Yep.
So
And he
you would
buys all this
guess,
expensive
yeah, you would guess like late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah, but it's Richard Dreyfuss who has always looked just like 40 years old,
Yeah.
no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah, that trio of characters and what's Brody's wife's name?
Ellen?
Ellen. Yeah, like those four characters are just kind of like what makes this movie, you know? Like
I'd
when you
argue
look at
every character in this movie makes this movie because all the side characters, even
yeah,
you know them and understand them. You get like this big, deep emotional moment with um Mrs. Kittner after her son dies,
yeah.
like just this devastating scene. You get the other towns lady, like she has like glasses on and kind of like the curly
Oh
black
god,
hair, and
she's
she's like super
incredible.
sassy. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, I don't think that's funny at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or even just the people who only have one line, like the guy who just goes, "A what?
Oh, what? It's a tiger shark.
A what?"
Oh, what?
This movie is just it's an impeccable cast. Um, and I feel like shark movies are either one of two things. They either focus too much on like, bitch and shark action, and most of them are not this type of movie because they're all pretty low budget. But like you have movies that are higher budget that are like, oh, it's all wall to wall shark, but there's like no characters, so who gives a shit, right? Or you have, well, we only have money for like three shark attacks in this movie, so we're gonna try and fill this with human drama, and it fails on that level, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And the thing with Jaws is it balances the shark stuff and the human drama in like a perfect way, but it also brings so much to both of those aspects in terms of just like how it's presented, how it's acted, how it's, the score of this thing. Like it's kind of just a singular movie that it's unfortunate that's like kind of it's not the first shark movie, but it is the first big shark movie. It's the first like
It's the OG.
mainstream shark movie,
It's
right?
the OG blockbuster. I mean, this
Yeah,
movie's the reason blockbuster, that term exists, is because of Jaws. Like we refer to every single Marvel movie nowadays as a blockbuster.
yeah, and it's
Why does that
like
exist? Because people lined up around the block to watch Jaws for years.
right. And you've got like Spielberg, who really is previously untested. Like he had Duel, his TV movie, and that was, getting pretty good reviews, but like that's still just like it's a TV movie. This was like his big breakout. And for it to just all fall into place like this, the way this production just even the hard stuff worked in his favor because he always found a good workaround.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's kind of unfortunate that this was the first big shark movie because it set this unattainable standard that like even the best shark movies today are not able to even like come close to. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Because
I
it's just
yes.
this movie.
I know exactly what you mean. Where I've talked about that on this on the show, where shark movies are just not my thing,
Mhm.
and it's because Jaws exists. It's because Jaws is a perfect movie, and I can't think of anything else I want out of a shark movie
Yeah,
besides what happens in Jaws. Like I just, if no other shark movie existed after this, I would be fine. I know
I don't know.
you're the exact opposite. I know that shark movies are your thing.
Yeah,
But for me, it's like Jaws exists. Like there's nothing else I would ever want out of that type of movie because Jaws happened. And
yeah.
and that's like not to take away from other shark movies because I do like other shark movies, but
Deep
yeah,
Blue 3.
you're gonna always compare the Meg 2 and the Shallows to Jaws, no matter what. And it's unfair, but it's also when you have something so monumental to film, the entire genre of just film, the history of film, and you have something so monumental like Jaws, it's like how do you try to live up to that. It's kind of like Star Wars, where you have all these other
Yeah.
fantasy world building type movies, but it's like, yeah, but Star Wars exists. You can't do that type of space opera when that exists. You can't do this type of shark movie. And that's why stuff like The Meg or even like The Shallows works, is that they're not trying to be Jaws. They're
Yeah.
trying to be just, we're a shark movie, but we're doing something completely different.
God, and honestly, up until about a month ago, I think The Shallows, because I think like if you think like favorite shark movie, if you don't say Jaws, like you're kind of insane.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because Jaws, well, maybe not favorite, but best, right?
Yeah.
But like, as far as any other shark movies go, I think The Shallows comes the closest to attaining, like, for me, what Jaws does in terms of like character, in terms of like tense, gripping set pieces. Like, I think The Shallows comes very close in like some regards, anyways, but like it's still just that, like, even if it's a really fucking good movie, it's still not
It's
Jaws,
still not
you know?
Jaws. Yeah.
And
And what makes it so
one thing
great
that I
though
feel with
is
Under Paris that I talked about like recently is like Under Paris is another one of those where it's like, I don't know, it does something a little different and it gets so close, but it's still like you don't have Robert Shaw as Quint giving that heart-wrenching monologue. You don't have an, a leading man like Roy Scheider who is just like somehow perfect in this movie.
Mhm.
Doing
Yeah,
very like little, really. You know what I mean?
he Chief Brody is one of my favorite movie characters of all time.
Yeah.
When I think of like great movie characters for me, it's Chief Brody, Rocky Balboa, Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of my big three.
Okay.
And what I love about Chief Brody is just he's a guy literally thrown into a situation. He hates the water, but he moved there with his family because he wanted to get out of New York City, wanted to get away from, the rough life of that, of basically my kids weren't safe, so I'm going to go bring them to somewhere safe. But what happens when I bring them to this safe place and it's suddenly not safe? I'm going to do
Mhm.
everything to make sure it is. And he
Yeah.
does. He does everything to make sure it is. And he's the most reasonable man on that island.
Mhm.
He has to deal with every type of adversity thrown at him. My favorite scene in this movie, though, and it's just a super small scene, has nothing to do with the shark. It's the scene right after Mrs. Kettner slaps him in the face
Mhm.
because she finds out that Chief Brody knew that there was a shark in the water. And it's the scene where he's at the dinner table and his son is sitting there with him, and his son is just mimicking him.
Mhm.
And he's like, he figures out that the son's mimicking him, and he just keeps going at it just because he's having fun with his son, and just asks his son, like, give me a kiss. And he's like, why? Because I need it. And it's like, it's such a great scene. Like, it's
Yep.
such a great character moment of like, that's what everything is for Brody, is that moment right there. And that's why
Yep.
he's going to do everything to stop the monster that's attacking his city. It's what Godzilla -1 was doing last year.
Oh,
Like
100%. Like
that's the closest I can think of something coming to Jaws, is a Godzilla movie.
I would argue that Godzilla -1 is on the same level as Jaws.
I'm
I
not going
would
to disagree. Yeah,
Yeah, and, like, I know that it's taking a lot from, like, Spielberg's playbook from this movie, but,
yeah.
like, it's also doing something kind of new and unique with it that I really appreciate, so,
hmm
um,
What's
yeah,
your favorite scene from Jaws though?
my favorite scene is Quint's monologue, and
Yeah.
here's the weird thing about this is, like, I was watching this with Maria, this is, like, one of our absolute favorite movies, and we were kinda, like, we're kind of talking through the movie, like just discussing it as it was going because like we've seen this a million times, like
hmm
and it was kind of nice to just talk through thoughts because it kind of gave me a few talking points. But one thing that I did not realize until this very last time watching it, and only because Maria told me, is that event that he is talking about was a real thing that actually happened.
Yeah.
I had no fucking clue.
Really? It's
I
a
had
very
no
famous
idea,
story, it's like shark story, yeah.
which is insane to me that I've never, because like I'm terrified of sharks, but I look for shark stuff. Somehow, this has completely missed me throughout all of my 31 years. And I looked into it and I'm like, that is haunting.
Mhm.
Like, that makes that scene, like, it was already my favorite scene in the movie. Knowing the very real place that came from, and like knowing that this movie came out 30 years after that, I can't imagine being someone who survived that and seeing that story told as like an emotional grounding point in Jaws. And I don't know, like it added such a layer and such a texture for me that I don't know. Like that scene really just knocked my socks off. I actually rewound it and played it again after Maria told me that because I was just like, this is, I don't know. That's just insane to me. That's just insane. Um, I just love that whole scene though, leading up to the monologue because it's the three of them. They're on the boat, like they're kind of for the first time since they're just kind of letting loose. You know, they're having a few drinks. They're having a good time. They're out on the ocean. The chaos hasn't started yet. And they're laughing and they're comparing scars and they're like joking around. And then it just like the whole tone just shifts so seamlessly into that monologue, and I don't know. That scene alone
And
is
then
what, like,
but then it shifts right back out of that too, because then they start
yeah,
singing the song together.
yep. Like,
It's
it's
such a
such a
great scene. Yeah, it's one of the greatest scenes of all time.
that to me is, like, legitimately that's the scene that catapults Jaws out of, like, "Oh, this is a great shark movie." No, this is just, like, a great movie. It is a movie first, it is a shark movie second, and somehow the shark aspects are still the best, like, the shark holds up for being a mechanical half broken thing that they just kind of like only had partially on set because of issues. That is still the best shark effect that we've ever seen.
Yeah, it's insane. Like the scene where Brody's throwing, the scene from Jaws, where he's
Hmm.
throwing chum in the water and it comes out. That's still just terrifying. And then the scene where it's
Yeah.
eating Quint, it's like there's
Hmm.
that's another great scene that I was thinking about this time watching it is like there's no John Williams score during that.
No, you're just literally watching him scream and
Hearing him
gurgle,
scream.
and
Yeah.
like it's awful. It's haunting. It's one of the most horrifying scenes in cinema. And the oh shit, I was gonna bring it back to something else too. Um, oh yeah, the shot of him like throwing the chum out and the shark popping up. That we're gonna need a bigger boat line and not too. So I remember when we saw this at West Mall. All of my reactions, like it's the only time I've ever seen it on the big screen is when we saw it at West Mall in the summer of 2020. I would love to see it on the big screen again because like all of my reactions were heightened watching it like that for the first time. Like I only ever watched this on my like small TV in my bedroom or whatever. And like that scene made me like audibly gasp. And then not 2 minutes later, when they're like moving along, like there's that shot of their feet coming out onto the ledge of the boat and
And they
moving
slip.
along, and one of them slips. And I swear to God, dude, I almost pissed myself when that happened at West Mall. Like, I don't know what it was about just the slip, but like I felt my weight give out from under me, and it just like I don't know, it got me. And it's just little things like that that make this movie so effective that you don't have in like I'm not even gonna say in shark movies, just in movies in general today, you know? Like,
Hmm.
no one would think to just be like, "Oh, let's have a little slip," as like a, "Oh god, almost gotcha," type of thing?
That makes me think of another scene while watching it this time where it's like no other movies really do this, or movies nowadays don't really do this. And they give like every one of the characters in this movie is a three-dimensional character.
Mm-hmm.
They're all living, breathing human beings. And that brings me to the mayor, because he's a big talking point about this. I know he especially was in 2020, because everyone was
Yep.
referring the mayor in Jaws to a certain president of the United States, who the mayor in Jaws was going to make sure the beaches were open by the 4th of July. A certain president of the United States was going to make sure that COVID was done by Easter. Both of those were bad ideas. But the
Yep.
mayor in this movie, he's an asshole. You do understand where he's coming from, because it's a beach town. You're like, yes, that's where their entire year, they make all their money for the entire year in those like 3 months while the beaches are open.
Yep. He's
And so you get
a
this
rock and a hard place.
Rock in a hard place. Is he doing it? Is he going about it the right way? No, he should definitely listen to the science. He should listen to scientists. Hello, Mr. President. He should also listen to the authorities of the law. And he does neither. The beach is open on the 4th of July. Guess what happens? Another shark attack happens. Involves Brody's son. But there's a scene in the hospital where after Brody brings his son there, and he catches up with the mayor. And the mayor's like, my kids were on that beach too. Yep. And it's just like, it adds that one single line adds humanity to the mayor of like, you hated that guy. You're like, there's nothing redeemable about him. Everything, all these shark attacks from here on out are this guy's fault.
Yeah.
But when that happens, it's like, oh no, he has stakes in this too. And now he's looking to Brody of like, okay, you were right. Let's stop this thing.
Yeah.
And it's such a great, just one line adds so much character to him. And I think the mayor is such a fascinating character, and definitely one I understand why people dissect and write essays about and think pieces just on that one character alone.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, he's definitely the least developed character, but like that doesn't mean he's not developed. And I do like that line. I don't think it excuses anything he's done, but
it adds a humanity to him. That's the moment where he realizes, what I've been doing, that wasn't the right way to go about
it. Right. Yeah, I hesitate to say I like the mayor in Jaws, but no, like
no, I don't like the mayor in Jaws, but he's a good character.
Yeah, he's a good character, and he's played beautifully by Murray Hamilton.
Yeah,
who, if I'm not mistaken, it's been a little while since I've seen Jaws 2. He's back in that one, right?
He's still the mayor in Jaws 2.
Yeah, I was about to say he's still the mayor.
Amity didn't learn anything from those events.
No. When we talk about cruel Jaws, I'll bring this up again because I think it's really funny that it incorporates it. But something that's been excised in this movie to streamline the plot was in the book, apparently there's a whole mafia subplot where like the mayor is being pressured by the mob to keep the beaches open. And like they obviously
so glad
that's
not in Jaws. I'm so glad that's not in Jaws.
It doesn't belong in Jaws. This movie does not need it. I'm really glad it's in Cruel Jaws.
Yes. And we'll get to that in a moment.
Yep.
Do you have any? I mean, I don't have any other. Do you have any other thoughts on Jaws that you need to throw out there?
I think the entire third act is just.
I love that it just turns into a Spielberg sweeping adventure in the third act. Basically, the second, almost the second,
and then it takes a pretty quick turn into like sheer terror in the like last 10 minutes.
Yeah,
I'd say like once the boat starts going under, I think after the diving cage sequence, like the whole movie is just like skin crawling, like terrifying. Mm-hmm. I don't know why anybody would willingly ever go in a diving cage into the ocean. Like that is the dumbest thing I have ever seen in my life. Like, no, just, we are not genetically adapted to survive in the ocean. We just need to stay the fuck out of it.
Stay out of it. The one last thing I want to bring up is that the Chief Brody's final line, the final one-liner, "Smile, you son of a bitch." I
Yep.
think it's the reason one-liners exist for like
Yeah.
Arnold and Sly in the 80s.
Yep.
It's because of
100%.
Roy Scheider in 1975.
And his reaction to the exploding shark is just one of the greatest moments. Like, it's so triumphant and just
Hmm.
like, and I love how the movie just pretty much ends on that, you know? Hooper surfaces, they start paddling back to shore, they have the little sarcastic exchange,
Hmm.
and then roll credits.
That's it.
It's amazing,
And then Jaws 2.
which is also amazing in its own right.
I like Jaws 2. Jaws
I
2
like
is
Jaws 2 a
yeah, I
lot.
like Jaws 2. It's a slasher with a shark.
Shout out to Keith Gordon.
That's right. He is in
Yep.
All right. Well, Jaws, I guess dumb question. How many shark teeth out of 5 shark teeth are you giving Jaws?
I don't know. I didn't want to overrate it, so I gave it about 2 stars. No, I'm just kidding. I gave it the full 5, obviously. It's
Yep.
Jaws.
It's Jaws. Yep. Definitely a 5. Give it 10 if I wanted. It's
Yeah,
it's a perfect movie. One of the greatest
it
movies
is.
of all time. Another movie that exists though is 1995's Cruel
Oh, buddy,
Jaws.
you better tread carefully. I love this movie.
Cruel Jaws 1995. Let's jump into this. This is Jaws. Technically, could also go under the name of Jaws 5. It is the 5th Jaws movie. It is directed by Bruno Mattei, but he goes under the synonym of William Snyder in this movie. Is credited as the director of it. Written by Bruno Mattei, who was under obviously that same pseudonym, with his writing credits, and Robert Fiend as well. So the plot of Cruel Jaws, let's jump into it. This movie uses footage from a half dozen other shark movies. Cruel Jaws is like Jaws, but but it includes the mafia, which we talked about.
Yep.
Includes some family feuds, some like Hatfield and McCoy, some Romeo and Juliet type drama in this movie. There's a wind sail race
Yep.
because
There's a
and
paraplegic girl who swims with dolphins.
that's literally my next piece. That's literally my next note. Yep. And then there's lots and lots of raw meat thrown into the ocean. That's Cruel Jaws.
Exploding boat.
And two explode. Yeah, there's a lot of there's more explosions in this than there is in the first Jaws. I will give it that.
Yep. Yep.
So, Cruel Jaws. This was a first time watch for me. I knew of the history of Cruel Jaws. I've seen like other people talk about it. I've seen like some YouTube clips of this. But Sam, what's Cruel Jaws? What's your history with the cruelest of Jaws?
This is a fairly recent watch. I actually think I've talked about it on this show before. In a doobie doing segment. I've watched it within the last year. And I think I actually watched it around last 4th of July. And I was just dumbfounded by it in so many ways. And I laughed through the entire thing. I mean, if you look at this movie as a comedy, it is a perfect 5-star movie because it is one of the funniest movies I have ever seen in my life, hands down. So yeah, when we were trying to decide what we would even pair with Jaws, I know we floated Jaws 2, which eventually we're gonna get there because I love that one too. You love that one. Can't wait to get to Jaws 3. Can't wait to get to the revenge.
We can wait on Jaws 3 and 4 for a while.
Yeah, maybe for a while. But we also covered Children of the Corn too, so
That's so much. Well, yeah, that is so much better than Jaws
no,
3
it
and
is.
4.
It is, yeah. But so anyways, yeah, when we were trying to decide what we were doing with Jaws, I can't remember which one of us suggested Cruel Jaws, but I'm glad someone did because yeah, this movie rules. What did you think of this, Casey? Initial thoughts?
It's kind of what I expected this movie to be from everything I've heard about it.
Yep.
of just taking footage from the first 3 Jaws movies and I think 2 other shark movies and
Yep.
just like some documentary stock footage of sharks.
Yep.
A lot of that, mostly that,
There's
for the additional footage.
I don't feel like any of the actual, like, actors that they hired to be in Cruel Jaws interacted with any kind of shark on set
No,
whatsoever.
no.
There was nothing to, which is kind of amazing, to tell you the truth, like, that they just collaged a movie together.
Yeah, they acted against nothing, that's for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, so, like, the movie opens, and it's not a great opening to the movie. It's like a bunch of, like, scuba divers underwater, and then they get attacked by a shark, and it's just, like, chopped to shit. Like, the entire
Yep.
every time there's a shark attack in this movie, it is so chopped up. You can't see any. It's like an actual shark attack. You're not going to be able to see what happens. It's just things are flying different angles from different perspectives. You don't get to see a whole lot. You maybe get to see some red coming up from the water, but that's about it.
And a
But
body part floating around every once in a while.
every once in a while, um, but yeah, it was just okay. I knew what we were in for at that point. But then, like, this movie kind of borrows from like Jaws 3
Yeah.
more than it does. Well, the plot is mostly Jaws 1,
Yep.
but the setting is Jaws 3.
Yes, 100%. Like, it's following the plot of Jaws pretty much beat for beat.
Yeah.
Um, but it's
It's set in Jaws 3 of all the
yeah,
movies to set it. You set it at
yeah,
Jaws 3 where they're at this like
resort and there are games going
yeah.
on and
Yeah, you set it at the resort with these trained dolphins and a seal. That's the only animals they have at this place.
yeah.
One seal and 2 dolphins and a girl in a wheelchair. But what I love is when they open to that and you get the girl, the paraplegic girl who's swimming with the dolphins.
Yep.
And you just hear like these crowd noises and you hear like clapping and cheering. And it's like, is there people in the stands watching this? We don't ever cut to people in the stands like cheering and oohing and awing at the tricks that the dolphins are pulling. You just hear the sound of it. And it
Yep.
does it again later too. You just hear the sound of people clapping and cheering.
Yep.
And it's so funny and so obvious that it's like they intended it to be like a Sea World, but didn't have the money to shoot any sort of crowd.
Yeah, there's one scene at the end where they shoot the crowd, but it's so clearly on a separate, like, sound stage, like, on a
And
different
there's like
day.
10
There's,
people
like,
there
10
too.
people, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love this movie, mostly for like, I know this sounds weird, but I love this movie mostly for the characters.
Who so who's your favorite character in this? I have a favorite character.
I mean, I just really like the Hulk Hogan
Hulk
look-alike.
Hogan is the best character
Yeah,
by far, and
he's incredible.
it's because he looks like Hulk Hogan.
That's a big part of the appeal.
That's
There's also
90% of
the
it.
like, assistant looks like Matt Damon from The Talented Mr. Ripley. Yeah, I don't know. I love the characters in this because they're all kind of goofy and just weird and like there's there's a scene where they literally are just ripping off the like the between the mayor and Brody on the barge as they're like talking. They literally are almost ripping the dialogue verbatim where they're
Yeah.
discussing closing the beaches, you know? And then like the mayor at one point says like, "Well, what shark?" And Matt Damon goes, "The tiger shark."
This movie has no idea the difference between a tiger shark and great white sharks either.
No, because half of the footage is great whites and half of them are tigers, and like it's
But
nuts.
they only refer to is it okay, so here's the confusing thing I had watching this. How many
Hmm.
sharks are there?
I thought it was just the one.
Okay, but the one gets like blown up
Yeah.
halfway through the movie.
Wait, what?
Like halfway through the movie, there's the chick that's pouring gasoline for some reason, and they shoot the flare in the air, and there's a
Oh,
huge
I thought the
explosion
shark got
on
the
that
boat
boat.
blows
But
up.
the shark's right there.
Eh, I always took it as the shark got away.
Either way, the entire time they refer to this apparently one shark that looks like 10 different types of sharks as a tiger shark, and it's very clearly every single time it comes out of the water a great white shark.
Yeah. Yep. Well, it's because they're taking footage from Jaws when it's coming
Yes.
up out of the water.
Yeah. It's so
um,
funny and made me laugh every time. They had no idea what they were referring to. There's so many rip-off scenes of Jaws in this. Like you said, sometimes dialogue verbatim is ripped off from Jaws. Like
yep.
the for the most part, the first like 10 minutes or so is not Jaws. It's kind of
Its
generic
own
shark
thing.
movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when it gets to that they find one of the bodies of the scuba divers on the beach, it's literally just okay, here's Jaws. We just switch like which characters are which because Brody, like the character that would be Brody, is Hooper, is the
Yep.
nerdy scientist, the actual young hotshot scientist.
Yep. And then you've
Chief,
got
you got the actual sheriff who's kind of just a non-character in this.
the
I
sheriff in this is like nothing.
nothing.
Um,
I don't know who's supposed to be Quint Hulk Hogan.
yeah, probably.
I guess.
He's the closest, but he's like a nice, jolly, happy Quint.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I love is like there's a character named his name is spelled Jan, which in Italy would be pronounced like Jan,
Yeah.
right? But like none of the American people who have dubbed this movie pronounce it that way. So they're just calling this guy Jan the
Yeah.
entire movie. And it makes me laugh every time.
There's another thing too where Hulk Hogan's character, his name is Dag,
Yeah.
but other people call him Dad that are not his child.
Yes.
Yeah.
There were some language barrier issues with this movie, I think.
Yeah. When I was looking at some of the IMDb trivia, it was Bruno Mattei used an English translator to speak to his actors. All the actors in this movie as well are non-union actors from the Florida area in which they shot.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
That makes a lot of sense.
One of the pieces of trivia, I don't know if it's just an IMDb saying this because everybody talks about this guy looking like Hulk Hogan, but the guy that looks like Hulk Hogan, they've said that he has filled in for Hogan as his stand-in on Hogan movies.
That wouldn't surprise me.
It
Though.
wouldn't surprise me because I know Hogan's from that area.
Yeah.
I don't know. Someone needs to confirm this for us. Is fake Hulk Hogan from Cruel Jaws a stand-in for real Hulk Hogan in Hulk Hogan movies? Someone let us know, please. My favorite laugh out moment, I think, in this is when they do the autopsy scene, though. Is because they literally rip off Jaws doing the autopsy scene, and the coroner like zips open the body bag, opens it. Yeah, this wasn't a boat accident. It was definitely a shark. It's like you didn't even take the body out of the bag.
Yeah, and like in true Italian movie fashion, like it's a really gory body too. Like it's all
And it like
chewed up and
zooms in on the
zooms
head.
in on it. Yeah, everything about that, the disco music, like needle drop when the chief goes to investigate and like all that. Just this movie is if you want Italian Jaws, like this is basically
This
it.
is it. This is
You know?
definitely it. Yeah. All
Yeah,
the another note I had was all the day for night scenes. It has so many day for night scenes. I don't think they shoot any of this actually at night.
no, I doubt it.
Because yeah, I can't think of an actual night scene because it's all just this weird like the blue filter over it where it's supposed to be nighttime and it's very clearly like 3:00 in the afternoon.
Yep.
And it's very distracting because like I understand if you have like budget constraints and maybe not equipped to shoot at night, especially on a low budget Italian American movie like this.
Right.
But like, at least have your characters act like it's dark out because they all still see each other clearly. Like,
Yeah.
there's someone out in the middle of the ocean and there's someone on the beach yet, and you can still see them clear as day.
Oh god, that is the best thing. Like when the bullies, or not when the bullies, but when the like the kids come up and pull up in the Jeep and they're like, "Oh, so and so's out in the water," and they go and they like
Let's go trick them.
a further distance, they can clearly make out that it's their two friends in the water, but then they drive up onto the beach and their friends in the water cannot recognize them in the
Yeah.
car. It's so funny.
And they say like one joke, like this is the police, like you two need to get out because you're polluting the water.
Yeah. And it's like, and immediately they go, just kidding, it's us.
It's us. It's like, no way.
One of my favorite scenes, I don't remember where exactly it comes in, but it's the scene where the sheriff goes to talk to the scientist, or to talk to discount Matt Damon, and Matt Damon has this great, like, it's not really a monologue, but this great thing about sharks that I'm like, this is not accurate even for the time. Like, he's like, we don't know much about sharks. This is a direct quote. We know that they're sort of a locomotive with a mouth full of butcher knives, and all they really know how to do is swim, make baby sharks. And that's all.
Which is that's also a line from Jaws.
It is. It's ripped directly from it. But I'm also like, by 1995, we knew way more about sharks than that.
Yeah. Well, also in this movie, they imply that this shark is like super smart in targeting
Yeah,
certain people. Like
because
it's
the
pulling.
government
Yeah,
experimented on it.
apparently, yeah, they're like pulling from like Jaws 4, where like this shark is super smart and attacking them. Also, like, okay, so there's a maybe my favorite scene in this movie is where you have like the mayor's son, who's like this like 80s bully, but in 1995 still has the mullet. And he has this douchebag friend and a girlfriend, sort of girlfriend, whatever. And they're all out on the boat because they're going to go get the shark for
Yeah.
reasons. And
He kind of looks like Bon Jovi a little bit.
he does look like Bon Jovi. Yeah. So John Bovey, he's on this boat and didn't catch my Sunny reference. That's fine. Moving on.
Oh, sorry.
They can't get the boat to move. They can't push the throttle forward, and it like starts spinning the propeller in the back, and it like cuts right down the back of the shark. There's
Yeah.
like blood everywhere, but then like the shark's fine. It's never addressed again. That's why I'm questioning how many sharks there actually are.
Casey, I'm telling you, there's only one shark. It has Wolverine powers.
Apparently, he
That
is
the government
experimented on
gave
by
it.
the government. Yeah. Which leads to the best scene of this movie, though. It's where like Bon Jovi falls into the water. He gets attacked by the shark, and it's just like him bobbing, like help, help, and then he like pulls himself under because there's not actually a shark on set. And like the girl on the boat starts freaking out. She's like, shark, shark, and she has like a gasoline container for some reason and starts like pouring it. Like, what was she doing?
Pouring it over herself.
Yeah. And another dude just pulls out a flare out of nowhere and shoots the gas tank. Yeah, but he shoots the gas tank.
The shark, but he's right next to the gas tank.
And it like blows up. The ship just explodes.
But not before we get that great shot of like her still holding the can and the fire comes up in front of her and she screams. And then we just cut to a wide shot of the boat exploding.
It makes no sense.
The best scene in the whole movie.
It's so funny.
Okay, I have a few quotes too.
Okay.
the talented Mr. Ripley's girlfriend, aka Discount Matt Damon's girlfriend, at one point has a really funny line that made me laugh so hard. It's, "What do I have to do to get attention from you? Grow gills?" Because his only character trait is that he's just obsessed with fish.
With fish, yeah,
That's
even
it.
more so than Hooper was.
Yes. um then there's like the there's the scene where the tourists are coming into and they're trying to get a picture of the shark or with the shark, and the police chief's trying to tell them like there's no shark. And I don't know, that whole exchange is funny. I have Ronnie shut up at the end
Yeah,
of that.
it's like three. It's like a mom and a dad and a child going to the beach. There's no one else on the beach, but they're like, we need to see this shark.
Yeah, and they brought their camera and
Yeah,
everything. Yeah.
there's a there. I have a couple other notes to throw out here, and
Okay.
so this movie is just so bonkers, so all over the place. That not only does this movie rip off Jaws and its sequels, it also rips off John Williams' score. But not John Williams' score from Jaws. It rips off John Williams' score from Star Wars.
Yeah. Yeah.
Twice! It's whenever
Twice.
Hulk Hogan and Discount Matt Damon are going out to sea, they start playing the theme song to Star Wars. I don't know how that's still allowed on like the Tubi version of this. It's just it's insane that that's still allowed in this movie. I get the footage, you can kind of cut in and out around it, but like just the fact that John Williams' Star Wars score is in Cruel Jaws is insane.
It always surprises me too. I feel like it was one of those things that shocked me the first time I watched it last year, and then I'd forgotten that it takes John Williams' score from Star Wars. And so I was watching it again and I'm like, "Oh my god. We're doing this."
Yeah. There's another sequence that just comes out of nowhere. And it's right after the explosion of that boat where a helicopter flies by and tells Hulk Hogan and crew, "Hey, you guys need to go back to shore." And then we have a sequence with these two guys we've never met before in the helicopter where they're going after the shark. And they basically again take a giant piece of meat, because that's what Bruno Mattei took away from Jaws, is that's how you catch a shark, is a giant piece of meat and you throw it in the water with a hook. They throw it in the water from the helicopter. And they start like trying to reel it in, and it starts pulling the helicopter down. And it's like, who are these two guys? Why are they going after the shark? Why is the shark all of a sudden the size of the helicopter? And then it just like hilariously eats both of them.
Yeah.
And then
They
it
both
moves on back to Hulk Hogan and crew.
yeah, there are so many like the helicopter scene might be the most egregious example of like, oh, there's not a shark on that set, because the way they're cutting around it, like there is a guy just firing a machine gun at nothing for
Yeah.
half of that sequence.
And
Yeah.
the shark in that is so, it looks like a toy. Like I don't, because that's not footage from one of the Jaw sequels, is it?
I think there's something in that one, but I don't
Because
know.
like
Like
its head is like really like coming out of the water a couple feet, and I'm like, that just looks like
actually,
a model.
that one I think was actually from what was it called? Is it like The Last Shark something?
Yeah, there was like two other shark movies that they ripped off in this.
Cool John. Let me see, because I
I'm
know
sure
that
it's in the
there was,
IMDb which one it is.
yeah, The Last Shark. I believe that was from The Last Shark. I have not seen that one, but I think I read somewhere that segment was yeah, was incorporated footage from the last shark anyways,
Okay.
which is why the helicopter all of a sudden looks like it's from the 70s at times.
Yeah.
And they have the line,
Oh,
we're
that
gonna
is
need a bigger
that's
helicopter.
definitely that shark. Yep, I see it on here. Yep. Yeah, and then they like cut to like stock footage that looks like it's from the 60s, like
Yeah.
the quality of the footage is such a downgrade from the rest of it. And then the end of this movie, so they like Hulk Hogan and crew find this this ship that is sunk. And they're like, "We're going to plant dynamite down there and we're just going to blow the shark up." Cuz it's the only way to stop it.
Yeah.
And they kind of just do. They
Yeah.
they literally
It's so
set up dynamite. It's very anticlimactic. The
yeah.
shark swims over it. They set off the dynamite and it blows up.
Well, and the thing is like when it looks at it, because like they set up, yeah, three pieces of dynamite in like a triangle. So you think, oh, they're gonna get it to swim under like a rock formation, and then and the rocks are gonna come down on it, and then they detonate, and somehow not only do the three bombs go off, but the shark's head just explodes,
Yeah.
as if they put TNT inside the shark.
Yeah. And they're like the boat's like right above where this is happening, and there's like no like waves moving the
No
water, like there's no water coming into the boat. It's just four
sound of
guys
an
like cheering at
explosion.
nothing. Yeah, four guys cheering at nothing.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's very anticlimactic, but like it's kind of like I said, if you're looking at this as a comedy, it's like a five-star movie
Yeah,
because the entire thing is just it's a laugh a minute. I I don't know. It's not a good movie. Like by the like typical sense of, plot, actors,
yeah.
writing.
This movie I would recommend still. I think it's the
Yes.
perfect movie to get with a bunch of friends, have a few drinks, watch Cruel Jaws and just tear it apart and laugh at this movie. It's one of those movies. It feels a lot like Troll 2, where it's like just get with your friends and kind of just have a blast making fun of this movie. Create some drinking games if you watch it multiple times. Like it's that kind of movie. That
Yeah.
being said though, it's the third best Jaws movie. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd almost say it's the second best.
Jaws 2 is better than this.
Yeah, but this one's funnier.
It is funnier, but Jaws 2 is better than this. I like Jaws 2 a lot.
Yeah, I do too. I actually like Jaws 2 quite a bit.
So, how many shark teeth out of 5 shark teeth are you giving Cruel Jaws?
So I gave this one 2.5 out of 5 last time I watched it, and I gave it 2.5 out of 5 this time I watched it. But the important distinction is that normally when I do that, there's no little heart next to it, and I heart this one.
You hearted it.
I love this like middle of the road hodgepodge collage of because it's so endlessly entertaining. This is when I say like this is genuinely one of my favorite shark movies, like I mean it. I really love Cruel Jaws, and yeah, I'm really glad that we had a whole episode dedicated to this. I mean, and Jaws, because
And that
Jaws
little
is
movie
incredible
Jaws.
too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, what about you? What are you giving? Um,
I I'll give Cruel Jaws 3 stars. Like that's my like recommend number right there. I'll give
okay.
it a 3. It's fun. It's a movie I'll watch again. It's one I would just throw on to laugh at and have a good time with. Is it groundbreaking and thought provoking? No, but Hulk Hogan fights a shark in this, so why not? 3
Yep.
stars.
I end my little letterboxed review with I can't tell if it's awfully brilliant or brilliantly awful, but it sure is something.
That's the perfect way to put Cruel Jaws.
Yep. Love this movie.
Yep.
All
All
right.
right. Well, we made it. We swam out of the ocean, Sam. We're out of the
We did.
bowels of the depths of the ocean. We've made it. We survived those shark attacks. What's next for us on the show?
Um for the sake of streamlining things, I didn't put any notes in Screamin' Mad News, but I will say the new Hellboy trailer uh, looks interesting.
I did
It's
not
peaked.
even know there was a Hellboy trailer.
Yep, the first one for the Crooked Man came out. It looks a little bit more low budget, which I expected because the Harbor one flopped. But it looks like it is capturing the tone and the spirit of the comic book run really well. So I'm very intrigued by it. Not totally sold on Jack Kiersey yet as Hellboy, but I am cautiously optimistic on it.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm
All
I'm
right.
pretty excited for it. But that's all the Screaming Mad news that I can think of in the last week that I really latched onto. Anyways, we've kind of been busy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, we
Casey,
got a lot of go ahead.
yeah. So Casey, this is where I ask you, what have you been doing, man? Knowing most of what you've been doing because we've been doing it together.
We've been doing a lot of things together. Yeah, we've been
Yeah,
busy. That's what I was going to say. We've had a busy past couple weeks. A lot. We've had a lot of fun these last couple weeks, and
yeah,
I got a whole big stack of stuff here, and I have a bunch of movies that I watched as well. So I'm going to start with the stack of stuff first, and that'll kind of transition into the stuff I've been watching. So I guess first things first, we went to Omaha and Lincoln this past weekend for the Saturday of Screams, where we hosted a Q&A with Mark Patton from A Nightmare on Elm Street 2. We plugged that last
hmm
time in the show, and that was a ton of fun. Mark was just an absolute blast. He was such a sweetheart, and we're just very, very thankful that he made it out to Nebraska for this event, and we know
yep,
he wasn't feeling well still when he was there, but we're just very thankful that he made the trip out and got to spend some time with us, and we got to spend some time with him, and we had an
yeah,
awesome Q&A afterwards. We will have some version of that on our YouTube page, and we'll probably clip out some of the cool parts of that as well. But be on the lookout for that. So I guess we can start with that. I got this
yeah,
autographed photo of him from A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, where it
yeah.
said where he inscribed it to "He's Inside Me," signed by Mark Patton, and it's Freddy bursting out of Jesse's chest, which is just one of my favorite scenes of this movie. Can't wait to have this right back there behind me. It's going to go on the
Oh
Freddy
yeah,
wall once I get it framed.
yeah. I got a DVD copy of his Scream Queen documentary, which was part of the screening signed by him. And
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, he was just so great. Like Casey and I came up and introduced ourselves to him before the event started, and just let him know we'd be doing the Q&A. And I mean, he was so gracious with his time. We had about a 20-minute conversation, just honestly, just talking shop and talking movies. It was pretty cool. So I don't know. That was a really neat experience.
it was. So we went shopping too. Like, you
Yes.
can't go to Omaha and you can't not go shopping. So we went to a couple places in Omaha. We stopped at the um Amazing Imaginarium in downtown Omaha, which is such a cool store. And then we also stopped at the Pop Culture Exchange in Omaha, and that's
Yeah.
where I picked up this Creature from the Black Lagoon NECA. I've been collecting these slowly, picking up all the black and white versions of the classic Universal monsters. I picked up Dracula a couple weeks ago. I just didn't ever show him off. So now I have Frankenstein, the Wolfman, Mummy, Dracula, and now I have Creature from the Black Lagoon. So I'm just missing Bride of Frankenstein to finish this out for me, having the black and white versions of all the classic Universal monsters. This bad boy is going to come out of the box as soon as we're done recording.
Nice.
I picked up this Fangoria, which features Mars Attacks on the
Yeah.
cover. Yeah, slowly building the old school Fango collection. Haven't dove into this one yet, but it also has some. I just noticed it also has Black Christmas and Christmas Evil as a
Yep.
Yuletide terror on this. Okay, yeah, I'm excited to read this.
Yep. That was
Uh,
that was one of them when I was looking through that box that I almost picked up, but I grabbed a couple other ones
yeah.
that I'll show later.
Speaking of Fangorias, I know you have a couple you'll show off. I just got the newest edition of Fangoria in the mail.
Oh,
It is the
yeah, the
long
long
legs
legs.
subscriber cover. I already read the Nicolas Cage and Oz Perkins interview from this. It's so good. I love Nicolas Cage's conversation with Oz Perkins. Like, it makes Nicolas Cage seem more human than I've ever thought of Nicolas Cage, I guess. I
Yeah,
don't know. It's so interesting. I'm so excited for Long Legs. This movie looks incredible. I just love that I've not seen like anything of Nicolas Cage in that movie, even though he's like the second build person in it. That makes me
yep,
even more excited. Can't wait for that movie. We'll be talking about it in a couple weeks on the show.
yep, for sure.
We'll move that to the side. A couple more things to show off here. At the Amazing Imaginarium, I picked up this Japanese exclusive Radu with a glow in the dark subspecies. It is a Japanese exclusive, like I said, and it comes with a bunch of like Japanese shipping on the side of it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, this thing rules. Comes with a the bloodstone as well. So yeah, adding this to the full moon wall right above me here. And speaking of, got this bad boy for my birthday last week, actually, from Kayla. Another one of the classic puppets from Puppet Master. Got Torch. This
Hell
thing is
yeah.
so cool. I love the Puppet Master figures. Like, I open a couple of them if like the boxes aren't very good, or just find them outside of the box. And like, the action figures themselves are incredible action figures, even more so than most action figures these days. I know NECA is kind of the gold standard for that. I think these hold up right up against that. And these came out in like 1999, I think.
Damn.
So these figures are incredible. I love them. Sam, do you want to show off the stuff you got, and then we can talk about our
Yeah,
our
sure.
movies? What do you
So,
got Doobie doing for the stuff that hurt your wallet this past week?
well, we'll talk about one of these movies a little later in Doobie
Yeah.
Doing. I subscribed to the Full Moon Features app. I moved from the Amazon. I canceled my Amazon Prime because Jeff Bezos doesn't need more of my money. But I still wanted access to all the Full Moon stuff, you know. So I downloaded the Full Moon Features app, and I got a year subscription, and I got my Evil Bong box set, my
Yeah.
stash box.
Stash box. I got mine right behind me.
And I was pretty happy when I opened it. I kind of forgot. I know I've looked at yours before, but God, this packaging is just so freaking rad.
Incredible. Yeah.
And I've forgotten that it has Ouija's in it too, a Danny Draven flick that we
Yep.
both really enjoy. So I've been excited to revisit that one.
I'm trying to remember. Is Gingerweed Man is not in there, right?
No, Gingerweed Man is not, and I think it's because that one came out after this
After
box
the
set
box
was
set,
made.
yeah. But
So
there is room to fit more Blu-rays in there. So
yes, and if I do get a Gingerweed Man Blu-ray, it's going in there.
Yep.
So yeah, I got that. At the event, we also screened Reunion from Hell 2, directed by Hayden Newman. I got a poster signed by him of the movie. We'll talk about that one too as
Yeah.
we get into our doobie doings. And yeah, I found this really cool Psycho Gorman tape.
VHS tapes.
VHS tape. Yeah, so that was pretty rad. And then I also grabbed a couple of
Frig yeah, Sam. That's what you needed to
classic
say.
Fangorias. I have this one that has my home skillet Chucky up in the corner. That's for Child's Play 2.
I was going to say, I
Savini's-
haven't even seen these yet.
Yeah, Savini's Night of the Living Dead is the cover image. And it's also got Darkman.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, this is pretty sweet. The fold out is from Arachnophobia. It's pretty gnarly.
I didn't even look. Does mine have a fold out?
It should. Mine does. Both of mine did.
Is it the first page?
Yeah, it's just like the cover opens up
no.
and then folds out.
Oh, mine does not.
Oh, well, that's strange.
Yours are older, though.
Yeah, I suppose so. This one's from the 80s. This is an issue with
Jealous of
cellar
that one.
dweller and
So
brain
jealous of that
damage
one.
on the cover. Yeah. Um I was pretty pleased with this find. The fold out for this one is Pumpkinhead, which is just it kind of makes it all the more awesome.
Yeah, that
Like,
rules.
yeah. So, and then one of the best movies of all time is advertised on the back. Yeah, head of the family.
We'll talk about that more later.
Yes, absolutely we will. So yeah, that's pretty sure that's all. Yeah, that's all I got. That's all I got as far as stuffs that hurt my
Stuffs.
wallet.
Okay, well, let's jump into our movies then. I know we got a lot of
Yeah.
crossover, so I suppose we'll talk about them together if we have some crossover. Let's first kick things off with our Saturday of Screams because
Yeah.
we both watched Reunion from Hell at home in prep
Yep.
for Saturday of Screams, and then we watched Reunion from Hell 2 at the event. So we watched the first two Reunion from Hell movies. Both are on Tubi,
Yep.
so you can check those both out. And if you don't know what they are, I mean, they're an LGBTQ slasher movie that came out.
Hmm.
Uh, Reunion from Hell 2 was last year. I think the first one was a year or two before that.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds about right.
Both
Um.
written, directed by Hayden Newman, who was a guest at the Saturday of Screams event. We had an awesome chat with him afterwards, and he was just the coolest and gave us a
Yeah.
ton of insight, especially on the second movie on how he made that. And the second movie we watched there in the Joyo Theater, which let's talk about that theater for a second.
Yeah. The
So
theater was.
we show up in Lincoln, Nebraska. I don't know. Is it Havelock? Is the actual town, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's like sort of a part of Lincoln,
Yeah. It's a little bit like Clive is technically a part of Des
of Des
Moines, but
Moines.
it's
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's this really old theater, what they say, built in 1926
Yep. Yep. It's
and
close to 100 years old. Yeah.
close to 100 years old. Kind of looks like that on the inside. There
Yep.
was, here's the thing, we had an absolute blast. I love this theater. I love the vibe of it.
Yeah.
Super old school lobby. Like, I thought that was awesome. I should have grabbed it. I grabbed a souvenir cup of the theater. It was super cool
Yep.
that they had that. But inside the theater, air conditioning was
Not a
non-existent,
thing.
not a thing, which was okay. It was super nice in Nebraska that weekend. It was like 75 or something, and then they had fans going as well, which wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
But the
It was a
theater,
little sweaty in there, but
it
it
was a little
wasn't bad.
sweaty until the lights went out. And when the lights went down, we were fine.
Yep.
The screen though, the projector it was old.
Yep. It was a little old.
The bulb might have been going out a little bit, but
Yes.
it added almost like this old school grindhouse look to the screen.
Yeah.
And then watching Reunion from Hell 2, which is a slasher movie set on Christmas, it kind of felt like I was like, if we watched Black Christmas and then Reunion from Hell 2, they would have felt
Very.
very
Yeah.
similar.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, Reunion from Hell 2, it's a ton of fun. Mark Patton is in that, and he plays like this investigative reporter who's like
Yeah. A little bit of a Gale Weathers type.
a Gale Weathers type, and he's basically like investigating this family that had this tragedy happen a couple years ago, which was the events of the first movie. Now Lisa Wilcox from A Nightmare on Elm Street 4 and 5, she's playing the mother role. Hayden Newman's playing the lead in this. He's the main character. And then you also have Danny Hassel from Nightmare on Elm Street 4 and 5, and he's playing the brother of Lisa Wilcox. So you have a big old Nightmare on Elm Street reunion in this movie. And Hayden was telling us that was just happenstance because those were the three actors he wanted, and there was just the three actors that were available at the time, and it just so happened it was a Nightmare on Elm Street reunion. So yeah, the movie's a ton of fun. I would recommend both of these. Hopefully we'll get Hayden on the show at some point to talk about both of them and maybe go a little bit more in depth on them.
Yeah. He kind of shared with us like plans for like some upcoming projects too that sound very exciting. So
He told us Reunion from Hell 3 is coming. I'm not going to say who he told us that was in it,
Yep.
but both of us gave an audible hell yeah to that.
Yep. Yep.
Um, and then
And
we
I might
also,
have,
what's that?
I might have, I might have called him a son of a bitch in a moment of weakness. I was a little jealous.
Yeah,
No, Aiden was great.
he
Definitely
was.
check out those movies. They're a lot of fun.
The other movie that we showed right before that, and we did a Q&A with Mark Patton right after, was his documentary, Scream Queen, My Nightmare on Elm Street. This one came out in 2020. This was during the pandemic that this dropped on streaming. And yeah, it's basically about his life in Hollywood, his life after Nightmare on Elm Street 2, on how that movie made his career and destroyed his career all in one swift go. It's also about the AIDS pandemic of the 80s, and then kind of his return back into the horror world, the Nightmare on Elm Street family, getting to conventions, meeting fans, and it ultimately climaxes with him meeting screenwriter, don't remember his name, he's
David Chaskin.
David Douchebag Chaskin, and they have this kind of face-to-face where Mark kind of seeks to have some sort of closure on comments that Chaskin made about Mark Patton, about the movie, about how people perceive the movie. Really stupid, asinine comments, but that's kind of the conclusion of that movie.
Yep.
But the documentary is incredible. It was the second time I've seen it. I watched it when it first came out. It rules. I think it's just a fantastic documentary about
Yep.
like, here's the thing, like with most other documentaries, they're about, like, there's another one we'll talk about soon here. I watched a documentary that was all about scream queens, and it focuses on multiple scream queens. Or you have like the Nightmare on Elm Street retrospective, and the Camp Crystal Lake, the Crystal Lake Memories retrospective,
Yep.
where it's on a series of movies, where this one's just focused on Mark Patton, and it's not really about just Nightmare on Elm Street 2. It's about him, the person, and how that movie specifically affected him.
Yep. And just like set in the backdrop of the 80s during the HIV/AIDS crisis. It's a pretty, like, there are parts of that movie that are very hard to watch. But it's such a powerful film. It's definitely one of the better, like, horror docs that have come out in the last few years. Probably my favorite, honestly. Yeah, I really love this one,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, Scream Queen, My Nightmare on Elm Street is awesome, and if you haven't seen it, even if you're not a horror fan, even if you haven't even seen Nightmare on Elm Street 2, I just think it's kind of an important movie, like,
Yeah.
and I think it's fascinating. I think everybody should give it a chance. So,
The documentary I was referring to with the Scream Queens that I watched was Something to Scream About, which came out in, like, I don't know, 2003, I think, or something like that.
oh wow,
But they interview, like, Brink Stevens is interviewed, Denise Duff, oh my gosh, what's her name from she directed Model Hunger. She was in a bunch of the Trauma movies, like Romeo and Juliet, and
oh, Debbie Rochon.
yes, Debbie Rochon. She was also in this, and yeah, it's just kind of like, I don't know. It felt like something you would have watched on TV in 2003, like an hour-long special about Scream Queens, because it's super, like, it's shot on video, super low budget. Brink Stevens is the host of the documentary. She's also one of the interview subjects, and yeah, that leads me into the other two movies that I want to talk about just very briefly. I watched Haunting Fear, which is Brink Stevens in the leading role of a Edgar Allan Poe adaptation, where I'm trying to remember the Edgar Allan Poe story, but it was basically where the woman is buried alive, before, like, prematurely buried alive, and she comes back and haunts her husband who's been cheating on her. It is the premature burial is the Edgar Allan Poe story, and
Okay.
Brink Stevens is so good in this movie. We'll talk about this at some point. Little tease, I guess. But yeah, this
Yep.
movie's a ton of fun. It's on Tubi. Highly recommend. I know Sam will watch it and probably talk about it in the next couple weeks too.
Yep.
And then another one I watched was 1991's Teenage Exorcist, also starring
Can't
Brink
wait to check this
Stevens.
one out.
This one is so much fun. It is it's I think I've talked about this on the show with the Repossessed with Leslie Nielsen and
Oh, yep.
Linda Blair, where it's a parody of The Exorcist. And Teenage Exorcist does that, but so much better. This is one of the better like exorcism parody comedy movies that I've seen.
Okay.
Ton of fun. Brink Stevens is the lead in it, and I believe written by and maybe produced by it's written by Fred Olen Ray and Brink, and also produced by Fred Olen Ray. And this one's a ton of fun. It's I'm trying to remember Michael Berryman is also in this, but he's like a coroner for like one scene in it.
Okay.
And then you also have Eddie Deason, who was the nerdy guy in Grease.
Yep.
And the one nerdy guy in Polar Express, he just plays a nerdy guy and everything.
Yep. I know the guy.
Yeah.
I think him and Brink are like really good friends.
Oh, that would make sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's also in this, and he plays a nerdy guy. Teenage Exorcist. Check it out. It's a ton of fun. What else do I got? I know we have some crossover here. We both watched Suitable Flesh on the last drive-in with Joe Bob Briggs. This was his sex education episode that he had Joe Lynch on as well. Sam, what's your story with Suitable Flesh when Joe Bob played it?
So Friday, the Friday that Joe Bob played it, I had off. I had taken it off. I was taking a long weekend. We initially like had plans to leave town, but flooding kept us in. So Maria and I were just like watching movies that day. And I finally decided, you know what? Like she was in the mood for something a little bit like Suitable Flesh. So I was like, I'm gonna finally show her Suitable Flesh. And so at about 1 o'clock we popped Suitable Flesh and we watched it in the afternoon. And I love that movie. It's one of my favorites, and she enjoyed it too. And then we tuned on to Joe Bob, and within the first 2 minutes, I heard the word "suitable flesh," and I was like, "You've got to be kidding me!" And so I watched it twice in one day, and it was worth it. I love that movie. And Joe Bob's presentation of it was really fun. He should have Joe Lynch on more.
He definitely. So here's the thing. I like Suitable Flesh. I don't love Suitable Flesh. I still feel the same about it as I did when I first watched it.
Mm-hmm.
But I love Joe Lynch.
Yeah.
And he should be on every episode of Joe Bob. I would just love. Heaven forbid something would happen to Joe Bob. I hope he continues for another 12 decades of doing the last drive-in. But if they're thinking of a replacement at some point,
Joe Lynch would be.
Let's let Joe Lynch do it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just love how effortless he is with Joe Bob. Like he'll just give Joe Bob so much shit right back when Joe Bob's giving him shit. It's just like, and I know he's covered for him in at least one live event, and I've heard that went pretty well.
Yeah.
I would love to see an actual recording
at
of
Panic
that.
Fest in Kansas City, I think.
Yeah, I think so. So I don't know. That was a really good last drive-in episode, and this Friday I think he'll be finishing summer school with whatever the third movie in this series is. So I'm excited to check that out.
So we'll both probably be watching that.
Yeah. Along with us.
Sam, do you want to jump in with some of yours, and then we'll leave our quadrilogy of movies for the last?
Yes, that sounds.
Because that'll lead right into plugs. It's a pretty big. We got a big plug.
We've got a lot of plugs.
Yeah. So what do you got, Sam?
Okay, so I watched Boy Kills World, which is the like Lionsgate kind of like kung fu gory action movie starring Bill Skarsgård as a mute and deaf boy who is trained to be an assassin from birth. And his inner monologue is voiced by H. John Benjamin from Archer and Bob's Burgers.
And Wet Hot American Summer.
And Wet Hot American Summer. Yep, can't forget that. So yeah, this movie was entirely my shit. It's got some really cool action sequences. I love B Scars. I can't wait for his crow. I kind of hope H. John Benjamin narrates that one too. Um, the Boy Kills World was very like it's maybe a little long. Like I think the entire movie could just in general be shaved down by about 20 minutes and it'd be like a really, really, really fucking good movie. It's still a good movie. And I enjoyed it. But yeah, it definitely starts to feel a little long in the end. Um, but yeah, between Bill Skarsgård, H. John Benjamin, Jessica Roth is in this,
Mhm.
and she's good as she always is. There's just a ton of fun side characters, and you've got Famke Janssen playing like the big bad essentially, but she's also just like gone a little mad from like paranoia. So there's a lot of fun with that. Like, I really enjoyed Boy Kills World. And yeah, it was a pretty good, slick, gory, action-packed time. So I don't know if this is kind of what Lionsgate is doing now. These like kind of super gory, highly stylized action movies. Post John Wick, I'm there for it. It's a cool style. I like it. Um, we mentioned my Evil Bong box set. I have only seen the first Evil Bong and I want to say four or five maybe. Um, I've seen like a random one in the
Yeah.
later half of the series, right? So I just decided to start with two and just I'm gonna work my way through the series. So I watched Evil Bong 2, King Bong.
Yeah.
This movie's so dumb and so funny. Um, I don't really know what to say about it. It's an Evil Bong sequel.
Yeah.
King Bong is hilarious. I love the design of the Evil Bong. I think she's one of the coolest. Like I'm just gonna say like movie monster because that's what she is.
Yeah.
Like EB is one of the coolest movie monsters design wise. I just think she's awesome and. These movies are low budget and silly and goofy, but they're also a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to I'm looking forward to going through this whole series.
Sam, we can do it together because I've only seen the first two and then the crossover with Ginger Dead Man.
Hell yeah, we should. We should just kind of like plan on watching at least one of these like for every episode.
I'm sure our audience will love that.
And then literally just today, I was a little behind on this. I finished Pretty Little Liars Summer School. I did not like this season as much as Original Sin. Um, the balance between horror and like teen melodrama definitely tilted more into the teen melodrama in this thing. And there were a lot of decisions, especially in the last two episodes that I watched today, where I'm like, I wish you'd felt like they took a few easy ways out. And like, I'm not one of those people that's like, people have to die in horror movies for it to have any stakes or whatever. But I'm also like, you could have killed at least like I mean no spoilers I guess, but like you could have killed at least some more of these characters. um, just felt like everybody had a Dewey moment in this
Mm.
season, and I was just kind of like, takes away some of the fun a little bit, like I wanted it to break my heart a little bit and it just didn't. It like went for kind of a happy ending but then still did a stinger for season 3, which to be fair I still hope happens because I do genuinely enjoy watching this series even when it's kind of hit or miss like this season has been. So I don't know, it kind of peaked mid-season for me, but yeah, I don't know if you like that like Riverdale, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina style, it's worth a watch. If you don't, this is not going to be the show that turns the needle in your favor. So, anyways, Casey, what's this
Yes.
quadrilogy that we've been hinting at?
We have hinted at the big one, the big quadrilogy of movies that we'll finish off our doobie doing. We watched the Barbie and Kendra quadrilogy of movies from Full Moon. that kicked off with 2020's Corona Zombies. Then they saved the Tiger King, and Barbie and Kendra saved the Tiger King. Then they stormed Area 51, and Barbie and Kendra stormed Area 51. And then we finished it off with their latest film, Barbie and Kendra Crash Joe Bob's Drive-In Jamboree. Sam, why did we watch 4 Barbie and Kendra movies over the last, I don't know, week or so?
I mean,
I had seen 2 of these.
Pretty
before.
fucking funny.
They are fun. They are a ton of fun. So I had watched. I'd seen Corona Zombies and Save the Tiger King.
Okay. Yeah.
So I had seen those. I hadn't seen Storm 51, Area 51, and then obviously this new one was just coming out. But what were your thoughts on these movies?
All of these were first time watches for me. I think this is a series that progressively gets better as it finds out what it is.
Yes.
Like the first one is fun, but it's a little like more uneven. And then you kind of start to get like I love Tiger King for the fact that they get Leslie Jordan in there voicing like a prepubescent
young
Joe Exotic.
Yeah.
And then like Area 51 is just insane. There's like an alien fight between a like Scottish fat bastard voiced monster and one that's literally Bullwinkle from Rocky and Bullwinkle. Yeah. I mean, these movies are silly. They're kind of dumb, but they're like dumb in the right way, where it's like there's a clever kind of dumbness to it, you know?
Yeah.
And then
these movies are they're just a riot. Like they're so much fun.
Yeah.
They know exactly what they are. They don't ever overstay their welcome.
No.
Like Corona Zombies, like I think was a big talking point when COVID was happening, because it was like, yeah, of course Full Moon was going to come out with a movie during this time that they shot in a weekend or whatever and put out a month later. Yeah.
Oh, I remember it making waves and like people kind of being even upset about this, like making light. And I don't think that movie is making light of like the serious aspects of like.
No, it's not making light of the
of,
virus. It's making fun of how people reacted to it.
Yes. And the like insane things like the buying up toilet paper and like, it's all of these movies are really fun. I think that this newest one,
it's the best one.
Barbie and Kendra Crash Joe Bob's Drive-In Jamboree, it's the best one. And I think it's because it has the most Barbie and Kendra in it.
Yes.
You can tell that they weren't filming this one in a pandemic because the first 3 were all done in 2020. You can tell that they weren't filming this in a pandemic. They were at a live event for, Joe Bob's Jamboree, and they're clearly just having a blast doing this. And yeah, I really like these movies. They're really funny. And I genuinely hope that Charlie and company keep making them.
Yeah. Here's the thing. We watched all these in prep for our plugs. Let's get to the plugs here, because this is the last one here. We watched all 4 of those movies in prep for 2. Yes, count them, 2 interviews that we did with some of the team at Full Moon. First of all, this one's out right now as kind of a surprise bonus episode that we threw out right before Barbie and Kendra Crash Joe Bob's Drive-In Jamboree hit streaming, which it is on streaming right now. You can go watch it on Amazon, on Tubi, on Full Moon streaming site. You can get it on all those. We interviewed the one and only, the great Charles Band. So that interview is out right now. It was surreal. It was insane. It was everything we hoped it would be. It was such a great conversation. Charlie was so generous with his time and his stories, and very gracious with us asking questions outside of Barbie and Kendra as well. And it was a great time, absolute blast. And then right afterwards, he's like, you guys need to make sure you get Barbie and Kendra on the show. You need to get Robin Sidney and Cody Renee Cameron on. And so we set up for the next week, and that'll be coming out here the week after this episode drops, we have Barbie and Kendra themselves on the show in our most chaotic episode ever.
Yes. This episode is, as Casey said, chaos. We shouldn't say anything more than that. Like, you're just gonna have to listen and or by our suggestion, watch it on YouTube.
Watch it.
Because yeah, this is one of the most insane interviews we've ever recorded. It was a ton of fun. We do things on camera that like I didn't think we would ever do on like this podcast.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's so much fun. Like
Barbie and Kendra definitely crashed Screams from the Basement on that episode.
Yes. Crashed is the correct terminology.
Yep.
So yeah, that one will come out, on the 12th, correct?
12th. Yep, July 12th. Yep.
And then and the Charlie Band one's already out. You guys, like, both of these, for very different reasons, both of these interviews are like cannot miss.
Yes.
Yeah. We also, in between these two, dropped another interview with author Josh McMillan for his novella
Joshua Millican.
Millican. Dang it. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Millican.
Good. You're good. I'm here. That's why I am here.
That's why you're here. Yeah.
Yep.
Teleportasm.
Yeah.
Not teleporgasm as I thought it was when we first started reading it. I was about halfway through that book before I'm like, oh, never mind. I've been reading this wrong. But to be fair, it does kind of seem like, never mind. I'm not going to get into it.
Yeah.
Just read Teleportasm and then listen to our interview with Josh, because that's another kind of wild interview that we did. That's a lot of fun.
It is a ton of fun. Even if you're like, I don't have time to read, I'm not going to read a book. It's like, listen to that interview and immediately afterwards you're like, yeah, I'm going to have to pick up that book.
Yeah. He was such a blast to talk to, and like it's very clear why Casey and I loved that book so much.
Yeah.
Just talking to him, because like he was right at home on Screams from the Basement.
Yeah. Yep. That's for sure.
Yep.
Sam, that's it. That's the episode. We did it. We completed it. Sam, where can people find this podcast if they're confused, if they're an old person on the internet and they clicked on it and they're an hour and 40 minutes into this and like, well, how do I listen to more? How can they do that?
Well, Google is your friend, old people. And if you Google us, you'll find that our podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify Podcasts, and on YouTube. We have a video portion if you like watching our ugly mugs talk about horror movies.
If you want to see Sam slowly getting darker and darker as the show goes on, watch us on YouTube, because the sun was setting as we were recording this.
Yes, it's now pretty much dusk out.
It's pretty dark out.
Yeah. All I've got is my green mood light.
Yep. Sam is now in the saw bathroom.
God, I hope my room's not that dirty. Yeah. So check us out on YouTube. We put a lot of thought into how we look on camera.
So much thought, yeah.
Yep.
But if you want to follow us on social media, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, X/Twitter, whichever one you want to call it, and on TikTok as well. We're trying to put out more and more TikToks each week, and you can follow us on those social media channels to stay up to date whenever we drop a new podcast each and every Friday. That's when we drop them, but we're also sharing fun little stuff on all of our social media platforms as well, including some of our upcoming events that we got coming up, and we'll plug those as we're going along. But Sam, the next thing that we're doing is coming up. We got a big September, and maybe I'll just leave it at that for now, because we'll plug 3 events that we have coming up in September as we go along here. But if people are in the South Dakota, Iowa, Nebraska territory, and you're looking for cool events, stay tuned to our social media channels, and stay tuned to this podcast. We'll drop some plugs for those there as well. But Sam, where can they? What else do we got to plug? We got to plug our TeePublic store.
Yeah. You can pick up exclusive Screams from the Basement merch, including shirts.
Oh, you just muted yourself for some reason. Oh, Sam is definitely in the Saw room now. Jigsaw got to him. We might have lost you. I can do the plugs here, Sam. You can find us on TeePublic. You can just again go to our social media platforms. You can find it there. You can buy shirts, hats, totes, and so much more on our TeePublic store. Sam, your microphone is going nuts right now.
Yeah, it's
I'll close this out. I'll bring us home, Sam. We're good. I'll close this out. We'll finish this off. Last but not least, you can check out our Fangoria affiliate link. You can use that for all of your Fango needs, including an annual subscription, so you can get a cool magazine like the ones we showed off in this episode. Just visit shop.fangoria.com/Screams from the Basement and use promo code Screams from the Basement to save 20% on your order. Well, that's it. We're going to wrap this thing up. Sam has been abducted by Jigsaw. He's locked inside that little gross bathroom. He's gonna definitely have to cut off his foot to get out of this, or something like that. But thank you all for tuning into the show. And for Sam Lenz, I'm Casey Kelderman. Sweet screams.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.